Welcome to my kitchen. This dish is as basic as it gets and such a classic. Apples stewed and sauced. Today I'm using a couple of different apples. I'm using Granny Smith, a few Pink Ladies, and the rest are Honeycrisp. This is one of those projects that you can really just zone out and enjoy. Nothing specials need to be done. I quarter the apples, then I peel them, then I cut each quarter into 4 pieces. Because I'm going to have stewed apples and applesauce, I wanted to have a little bit larger pieces for the stewed apples. Then I just chop up the rest when they're done cooking and make the sauce. Now, if you want to make just the applesauce, you could just cut up the apples and not peel them and just throw them in the pot and cook them that way. You'd run them through a food mill after that, though, and that would get rid of the peels and the seeds. The apples don't need to cook long, about 10 to 12 minutes at a medium boil. I do like to have a variety of apples because it does change the flavor. It makes it a little bit more complex. If you'll notice, there's a few brown spots, but I just cut those out. Now that everything is peeled and cut, you can add your spices. I'm using an apple pie spice mix that I mixed up. I have the recipe for that in one of my shorts. You can use any flavor spices you'd like. Keep it as plain or as complex as you want. I'm using just plain cold tap water. If you want to use bottled water or anything else, you can. I would just make sure that it's cold. This helps everything cook evenly. I do like to sprinkle the spices over first, then pour the water over that. It just helps everything get mixed up a little bit more. The apples don't need to be completely covered with water, but at least 3/4 of the way. Turn the burner on high, and once it starts to boil, you can turn it down a bit. You definitely want a nice rapid boil to start. Then keep an eye on them and check them about halfway through. Check a couple of different pieces, and that way you'll get a good idea of how much more they need to cook. As the apples cook, they will change their color. They will start to get a light brown, whether you have spices in there or not. And you want them to be nice and tender and soft when they're done. Once the apples are done, remove them from the heat and let them cool for a little bit. I just divide them in half. The stewed apples are done at this point. I just pour them out into the containers and let them finish cooling on the counter. As for the applesauce, I put the cooked apples in a bowl, and I went low-tech for this. I used a pastry cutter. A potato masher would work too here. You could use a food processor or a food mill. Just chop them up to whatever consistency you would like. Once everything is the way you want it, I'd give it a taste. You want to, because some of the apples could be sweeter than others. I wanted the applesauce to be just a bit sweeter, so I added a little bit of sugar. I like to store it in glass containers in the refrigerator. The stewed apples were perfect with the pork chops, and they made a great dessert to boot. The applesauce ends up to be 107 calories a cup, and the stewed apples are 100 calories a cup. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Head on over to my Patreon page for the recipe and more detailed video.